We have gathered here today to commemorate the 12th Memorial Day for the 9/11 terrorist attacks that took place in New York and Washington. The unprecedented and deadliest terror attacks in human history, committed by 19 suicide terrorists, and claimed the lives of nearly 3,000 innocent people. Terrorism is a new historical phenomenon that was especially notorious with the PLO actions against Israeli targets in the 1960s and 70s, but soon after became a threat to all Western societies, with a special emphasis on Israel and the United States of America. The reason of this special focus on both Israel and America is that the Jewish state is the only genuine representative of Western values in the entire Middle East, while the United States of America is the main proponent of those values, freedom of democracy and democracy worldwide. In these days of turmoil and instability all over the Middle East, and in these days of turmoil and instability all over the Middle East region, and the doubts how to deal with it in the international community, we should remind ourselves that for the last 100 years, it was the United States of America that became the main leader and the main defender of freedom and democracy in the world. And I am absolutely confident that the United States is going to remain the true leader and defender of the free democratic world for any foreseeable future. It is therefore paramount to the State of Israel to maintain and to promote and to enhance its historical alliance and bonds with the United States of America. Indeed, following the awful tragedy of 9/11/2001, we managed to dramatically increase the cooperation between our security forces and secret services in the war against terrorism. As Israel's Minister of Intelligence, I can tell you that the cooperation between our two countries on security, on intelligence, and many other fields is better than ever. Nevertheless, the battle against terrorism is far from being over. The horrible incitement against Israel, against America, and the West is quite prevalent in many parts of the Arab Muslim world. The hatred toward Jews, Christians, and all those who are so-called infidels, all those who are not Muslims, is still very common. And it should be clear, crystal clear, that incitement and hatred are the most important necessary conditions for terrorism in general and for suicide bombing terrorism in particular. The real source of terrorism is incitement and hatred, because those 19 terrorists who committed this awful crime 12 years ago, they didn't look for very specific aim to achieve something very concrete. They didn't make it in order to defend their countries or families. They did it in order to kill as many people as possible, in order to cause enormous pain and they were ready to commit suicide, not to protect their loved ones, but only to harm our loved ones. And therefore, we should never forget we have to fight terrorism on the battlefield using intelligence, using our armed forces, but we have to eradicate incitement. And therefore, Ambassador Shapiro, we are trying together with your generous help to promote peace between Israelis and Palestinians, but we should never forget that one of the main obstacles for peace is a terrible anti-Semite and anti-Israeli incitement, and this might also lead to future acts of terrorism, and it is necessary to remove this obstacle of incitement and hatred in order to pave the way for genuine peace. For the past 2 years, we see the turmoil and instability all over the Middle East, starting with the so-called Arab Spring, which led to a lot of violence and bloodshed. In the last few weeks, the world has witnessed the terrible use of chemical weapons against civilians, against civilian neighborhoods in Damascus. In a sense, this is also another form of terrorism. Terrorism committed by the regime against its own citizens. Israel policy is very clear. We don't want to take part in the clashes and carnage around us. We don't want to interfere in the clashes and civil war in the Middle East, unless our vital interests or citizens will become under attack. Our red lines are very well depicted and very well known, and I would suggest nobody to miscalculate and to test our reaction. What happened recently in Syria should remind us all why it is so crucial to prevent the development of such dangerous non-conventional weapons by brutal dictatorship. If we want to avoid another disaster, like the tragedies that took place 12 years ago in New York and Washington, or perhaps even on a larger scale, we have to do two things simultaneously. We have to fight to combat terrorism and incitement, and we must prevent drug regimes from obtaining non-conventional weapons, from obtaining chemical weapons or nuclear weapons. I am confident that we learned the lesson of 9/11/2001 and of many other terrorist attacks. The United States and Israel will continue to cooperate in order to pave the way for a better and safer future. I want to wish all of us, all of you, all of us, Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova, שנחתם לביטחון, שגשוג והצלחה בישראל, בארצות הברית ובעולם כולו. שנה טובה.